Hey, good afternoon to you. 507 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us today, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. As of today, the Real Clear Politics average of national polls finds that this one is going to be a nail-biter. Right now, President Trump is up by 0.1 percentage points, which, if you judge past elections and how they've often underappreciated Trump's support, is a good sign for him. We're looking across all the swing states, too. Pennsylvania, Trump is up. Michigan, Trump is up. And the list goes on and on and on. For a detailed analysis of all of this, I want to bring in Doug Blair now. He's a polling analyst and the author of the Blair Broadcast Substack. Doug, good to have you back with us, sir.
Thanks for having me on, Vince. Really appreciate it.
So if you had to pick a campaign to be with this week, just based on the numbers, it looks like President Trump does have a good head of steam.
Well, look, I mean, as you mentioned, this is still a nail-biter election. RCP probably has the most accurate. It's 0.1% in favor of Trump, which is, I mean, it's a statistical tie. However, given the movement that we're seeing in the polls, given the momentum, Trump is the one that seems to be ahead. If you look at a sort of smorgasbord, a battery of these polls, they are starting to go in the direction where undecided voters who previously have said they weren't sure who they were going to vote for are now firmly breaking for Donald Trump. It looks as if Trump is gaining steam going into the election and Kamala Harris is losing it, which obviously a week and some change before the thing happens is the best place to be.
A lot of early votes have already come in. I think the New York Times estimate puts it at around 42 million nationwide. Are you reading into these at all?
I am. So we're actually seeing some relatively surprising trends. Whereas Democrats used to be the ones that were favored in early voting, we're actually seeing that flip where Republicans are seeing their gains go up in a lot of states that we weren't expecting, Nevada being one of those places where the early voting looks actually pretty solid for Republicans, which is just another sign, I think, that Democrats are going to be nervous because if you're looking at historical precedent, Democrats generally do pretty well with the early voting and the mail-in voting, but then Republicans come home on Election Day to vote in person. I don't anticipate that trend changing where people are still going to go in person to vote for Republicans. It almost seems as if what we're witnessing right now is Democrats just not voting. They're staying home, and therefore we're having a bonus from the early voting, the mail-in voting, and we will see that bump come Election Day, too. So, I think all the trends that we're looking at here are very, very positive for the Trump campaign, and you can see the Harris campaign trying to kind of struggle to adapt to it.
Yeah, there's also another piece that irregular and low propensity voters are showing up in some of this early voting data for President Trump, and all the Republicans who deal with this that I've talked to are very encouraged by that.
That is true. And again, one of those things that we have been seeing this election cycle is a lot of low propensity voters and Democratic voters moving more towards the right. So there was a hot tape of Kamala Harris and Gretchen Whitmer talking over a beer about we have to make up ground with male voters. You'll notice that phrasing was very specific. It wasn't white male voters. It wasn't black male voters, Hispanic male voters. It was male voters. We are now more than ever seeing a sex-based split in the polling data, where if you ask people, well, who do you prefer, depending on the sex of the person, regardless of their race, their ethnicity, their religion, well, all of it, it's basically Democrats get the women and Republicans get the men. And that is a trend that we have sort of just started to see evolve in the Trump era, where normally people have been kind of divided based on race, and now it's almost divided based on sex, which should be really interesting going forward.
Although when you talk about women in this equation, those are typically single college-educated women who fall into that category, and it's not married women by and large, which has led to a lot of really critical judgment from some corners of the left. Their position is it's so crazy. They're telling women you can keep your vote secret from your husband, as if they have the only reason they would vote for Trump is that their husbands are abusive. It's so disgusting, actually, Doug Blair.
I completely agree, Vince. And I think it's one of those things that Democrats are going to begin regretting, where, again, this idea of shaming men and shaming them, saying, oh, well, the only reason your wife is voting for this way is because you're abusing her into doing it. I don't really think that that's going to be the case here, especially, as you mentioned, it is single college-educated women that tend to break pretty hard for Democrats. But if they're married, women of all age groups and all ethnicities, again, tend to break for Republicans. So I think that we are really seeing here a new realignment of voters. So women of the single persuasion tend to go for the Democrats based on almost one particular policy area, which is abortion, whereas with Republicans, there's a larger policy portfolio that they can bank on: immigration, crime, the economy, foreign affairs. There seems to be a lot more there that they can capture.
Well, if you're wondering why Democrats are so interested in breaking up families, look no further than that data that you just shared with us. That's a really critical point. Hey, on the election itself, we're being served a huge number of headlines right now just about the way that these elections are being administered and whether or not they're going to be administered fairly. Today, we get a headline: Nevada's Supreme Court has rejected a Republican mail ballot challenge, says The Hill. Nevada's Supreme Court affirmed a lower court decision Monday allowing mail ballots to be counted if they arrive without a postmark up to 3 days after the November 5th election. So, Doug Blair, what I'm looking at here is, first of all, how does mail even go without a postmark? How do you get a piece of mail that doesn't have a postmark on it? And you're going to take ballots up to 3 days after the November 5th election? Do these officials realize just how little trust voters will have in an election that's administered that way?
I think it's a great question to ask, Vince. And one of the things that we are looking at, too, is Republicans are very well aware of what things Democrats will try and do to make sure that this election is a little bit funky. We looked at last election where there were things in Pennsylvania where certain districts that tended to favor the blue candidate were allowed a longer period of time to cure ballots. And I think Republicans are aware that this is going to try and happen again. The question is, as you said, like, what is the thing that is going to make Americans trust the election process even more? And that is, obviously, mail-in ballots need to receive extra scrutiny. They need to arrive postmarked, and they need to arrive within the time frame of the actual election. None of this stuff where, 4 or 5 days after the election is concluded, all of a sudden we found 70,000 extra votes for Kamala Harris, and therefore she gets the state. I think that that's one of those things that Republicans must be aware of. They need to be paying attention, and there are organizations like the Heritage Foundation that have been obviously very much aware that these things are going to happen and prepared legal challenges in the case that things go wrong. But again, this is a very essential part of our democratic process, that people trust in the actual election.
Yeah, totally critical for that to take place. What has surprised you about the way this election map is composed right now and the winnable states? You know, I want to talk about Virginia, too, because Virginia, which is a state that I'd say that most people have left out of the conversation. We've talked about it a lot here, just with a lot of optimism. Maybe it could happen. I've seen a lot of energy in the Commonwealth of Virginia for getting Trump across the finish line. And we got a new survey today indicating that he is within 2 points. In fact, that's Rasmussen today. There was a survey last week that said Trump was back by 1. Rasmussen says today that Trump is just back by 2. That's really critical. And President Trump is going to be rallying right here in Virginia on this weekend. I believe it's Saturday this weekend. What does that tell you?
Well, look, I mean, President Trump obviously thinks he can expand the map pretty heavily, and he's going into areas that are sort of very hostile to Republican candidates. Obviously, we just had this massive rally at Madison Square Garden in New York City, which is not anywhere near a friendly location for Republicans. But I think you're right that he's looking at the displeasure, let's put it mildly, at the current administration, the displeasure with the elites and all of these Democrats that say, well, if you just give us another chance, we'll fix the problem. And he's really capitalizing on that. Even Virginia, which is becoming more of a blue state, it's still relatively purple, but it's becoming more blue as each election cycle goes by. There's a pretty large disconnect between how President Trump might possibly do in the Commonwealth and how Hung Cao, for example, for the Senate might do. If we're looking at certain polling statistics here for Hung Cao, I think that Hung Cao is a very strong candidate, but Tim Kaine looks to be about 13 points ahead, which is going to be a really heavy lift. But as you said, Trump could theoretically do this. He could still win the state, which is, I think, that one of the questions you asked me is like, what's surprising me? Ticket splitting actually could have a large impact here, where Donald Trump at the top of the ticket might might actually do better than certain senatorial and House candidates at the bottom of the ticket, which is an interesting kind of thought process that you would assume that people would generally vote Republican or Democrat down ballot. And we're seeing that people might be actually willing to split the ticket to vote specifically for Donald Trump.
Actually, it's funny you say ticket splitting. I noticed last night, I think I was watching one of the games last night, Larry Hogan is running a ticket splitting ad right now, which is like, look, I understand you may vote for Kamala, but for Senate, you can vote for Larry Hogan. Isn't that kind of fascinating? Like that's the point that he's reached.
Well, I mean, Larry Hogan, I think, is a very interesting case here where he was so anti-Trump, and he's made his sort of campaign based on the fact that, like, oh, we're an old Republican and Trump is really bad. I don't think it's going to work. Obviously, I do hope that Republicans are able to keep the Senate. It seems like looking at all of the polling that it seems like looking at all the projections, that's almost a given. Montana and West Virginia seem pretty sure pickups for the Republican Party. That being said, I don't know if this is going to work, but if ticket splitting is going to be a thing, if people are going to say, I'm willing to split my ticket and vote for somebody at the top of the ticket that's different at the bottom of the ticket, it's entirely possible that people will be upset with how Maryland senatorial Democrats have done and how the Senate has sort of run when it's been run by Democrats, and we'll give Larry Hogan a chance. It will be really fascinating come Election Day to see how that pans out.
Listen to this. What's funny, because in the swing states, you basically have the Democrats tethering themselves to Trump, saying, well, I can work with Trump if he's the president. Here's how Larry Hogan's running in Maryland.
As a Democrat for president, I know who I'm voting for. That's easy. But Senate, also Brooks or Hogan? Look, they're both pro-choice, but Hogan cut taxes, tolls, and fees in Maryland. I like Hogan. He works with both parties. He finds common sense solutions. Also, Brooks would support her party 100% of the time, even their most extreme positions. This isn't complicated. I'm splitting my ticket. Harris and Hogan.
Holy cow. Oh, I'm sorry. I should play the end of it. It's Larry
Hogan, and I approve this message.
Yeah, he's like Harris and Hogan. What is this campaign?
Yeah. Very, very strange. But again, I think that this is one of the things that will be interesting to witness, because Maryland obviously is very clearly going to go to Harris. This is not in question. So it would be somewhat foolish for him to tie himself explicitly to Trump. But again, if this is going to be the election where that would work, I mean, he could very well have a chance. The polls that I'm seeing have him relatively decently within striking distance. It's not as close as obviously Montana or West Virginia, but it's possible.
Yeah. It's just unreal. I mean, I get it, like the wink, wink, like, hey, you can support me if you'd like, but the straight up the woman at the end of the ad, Harris and Hogan. Who put that in an ad? It's unbelievable. My goodness. Doug Blair, thank you for being obsessive with all the details. It really helps the rest of us. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
That's
Thanks
Doug,
so much for having me on.
Of
really
course, always.
It.
Doug Blair, polling analyst, author of the Blair Broadcast Substack. All right, our friend Donna is calling in, line 1. Donna, Frederick, hello, you're on the Vince Callahan Show.
Hi, I want to tell you, I went ahead and banked my vote, but I decided to have fun with it. So when I went in there, I made comments and kind of see how people would react about dead relatives voting, about the machine flipping my vote. I got thumbs up, I got scowls. But the best part was, as I left the polling place, there was a group of Gen Z guys there, and they had sweatshirts on and MAGA and hats and everything. I said, you guys are brave. And they're like, yeah, we just want to represent. And I said, that's pretty awesome that you're all here. And I said, so what is it that makes you want to vote for President Trump? And it looked like the guy who was, I guess, in charge of them getting together. And he turned to me and he said, I want to have a future. I want a job. I want to be able to buy a house. I want to be able to get married and have a family. I don't want to live in an area where I have to rent for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
He said, I want the future that my parents had. And I thought, wow. And I'm guessing they were probably just of age to vote, but I had a lot of fun with it. The reactions I got were priceless. I wish I'd had a camera. I got more thumbs up than thumbs down with some of the comments I made.
So I love that. I love about the young men, and that's a great story. But you're telling me, Donna, that you were walking through the polling place, just kind of loudly observing things, just trying to see what reactions you would get?
Yes, I was loudly commenting about, gee, I wonder if any of my dead relatives are voting today. I mean, I'd say it loud so people would hear it.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, when I got to the end, you put your ballot through, and I turned to the guy and I said, I wonder if it's going to flip my vote.
Yeah. What did he say?
And the reactions were great. And I did find out that if you want to check your vote, you can check and see if you voted, but it will not tell you how you voted.
Right.
Which is frustrating to me, because then what good is it? Why bother?
Well,
but the one thing that
the ballot is secret because the ballot, they hand you a ballot, but your name is not on it. So you're filling out who you support. And the ballot is supposed to be anonymized in that way, but it does tell you that you went into your polling place and you successfully voted. That's true in both Maryland and Virginia.
Right. But I think voting from now on should be public. Why not? What are we afraid of? Why does everything have to be secret? Mm-hmm. I mean, we should do like they did in the old days. Just food for thought. I'm just having fun with it, Vince, honestly.
Thank you, Donna. Well, I'm glad.
That Hogan Harris, that cracked me up.
Isn't that funny? That's funny.
Yeah.
That's just bizarre. Hey, Donna, thank you very much. That's Donna. She went out and she was trying to provoke. she was being provocative at the polling place. She's out there just, hey, I wonder if this machine's going to switch my vote. You just yell out and see what happens. I love that. All right, let's see here. I've got Sam calling in from Alexandria, line 3. Hello, Sam. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hold on, brother. Hold on.
All right, Sam is coming. Sam's on speakerphone.
Hey, brother. Sorry about that.
That's
all
right.
Me with a mouthful of gyro.
You pronounce it gyro? There's a lot of controversy around this word. I've heard some people say gyro. I've heard some people say gyro, like you just said. Also, a lot of the Greeks I know, they really lean into the gyro. They really want you to know that that they're Greek.
There you go. I like that. I'm gonna have to start doing it with a lot of accent.
There's a little deli. There's a Greek deli downtown where the guy yells at you until you get to the front, and then when you get to the front, he yells at you too. You got to hurry it up. It's called the Greek Deli. It's down. It's a great place, and they serve exon gyros. But you gotta know how you order. And then if you walk in with a woman, he will always say that she's too good for you, and it's a great place.
Oh my God! Hey, so I got to ask real quick. Does he go cheeseburger?
No, he doesn't. But maybe he'll add it to his rotation. I haven't seen that.
Okay, I don't know if I dated you on that one or not.
Yes, you did. You definitely did.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to call in and comment. We talked, or you had a visitor, toward the beginning of the show that was discussing concerns about the transition of power when Trump wins.
Yeah.
Part of it was about his physical security. Quite honestly, I'm not as worried about that. My biggest concern is for the nation. And I say that because, we have the disorganized, organized Antifa.
Uh-huh.
And I would say we haven't seen anything yet. I would see that would so get cranked up all the way across the nation.
Yep.
And I feel that it's a little bit of the gasoline for that is the politicians that have to weigh in, like Raskin, about saying, well, if he comes out on top, we don't care.
Okay, hey, Sam, hold this thought. I want to pick it up with you on the other side of the news, if you don't mind. Sam, stick around. Let's keep talking about Jamie Raskin and his nonsense in just a moment. Hey, good afternoon. It's 5:36 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Just before the news, Sam called in and wanted to weigh in on Jamie Raskin's plans to meddle in allowing President Trump to even become the next president. He doesn't care what the voters think. Sam, so you are concerned about what Jamie and company are up to?
Yes, sir. To me, it's like they're already telegraphing that their plan is, regardless of what the outcome is, that they intend to have an administrative insurrection of sorts. And, while you were on break, one of the other things I looked up was the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact.
Yeah.
That, has spread around, and apparently it's pending in Virginia and North Carolina. But it's the whole West Coast in Nevada and pretty much all of New England. So I don't. I understand because they play all out to win, but at some point you got to just say, like everybody's saying, we got to stop the name calling. Everybody needs to chill out and relax. And fortunately, there's 2 months between Election Day and Inauguration Day, so any kind of stupidity really comes on Biden-Harris watch.
Yeah, we will see how the left manifests its outrage because that is going to happen in some capacity. As you point out, Jamie Raskin has already said he said earlier this year that his plan is to block Donald Trump from becoming president on January 6th of this coming year. Take a listen.
Again, it's necessary, but it's not sufficient because what can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025, to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody and Civil War conditions all be.
That's so crazy, Sam. And this is one of the reasons why they can't have power again. So January 6th, just to remind people, the new Congress is seated on the 1st of January. So the House and the Senate are seated on the 1st. On the 6th, they handle the business of the Electoral College count. So this is why Democrats should not be in charge of either house for fear that they're going to abuse that power in exactly the way Jamie Raskin is describing.
Yeah, and for those that don't remember what he was talking about, Section 3 of 14th Amendment basically would disqualify President Trump because, according to their reading of it, that he betrayed his oath by engaging in an insurrection, which they would in fact be pretty much doing the same thing, just by definition.
Yeah.
So to me, it kind of leaves you scratching your head and saying
it's crazy. It's pothead lawyer stuff. It's like what if we say he's an insurrectionist? Then he's disqualified. Stop it. Will you stop it? So that's their plan. And Jamie Raskin's not alone. In that, there's been a bunch of left-wing publications who have all pushed the same plan. And it's a scattershot approach, right, Sam? In other words, there's a million different things that they're trying to do. This is just one of their spinning plates.
Yeah, I don't see the Supreme Court getting much rest in the days after the election and prior to January 6th. And the other thing that kind of upsets me a little bit is how flippant he uses. Well, we may all have to have guards, and this thing melts down into a revolution. Yeah. And I'm like, civil war, and I'm like, wow, that is not something to just joke around and throw out there like that. That's serious business.
Yeah, big time. Sam, thank you. I appreciate the call. Thank you very much for that. On what Sam is saying, this the Supreme Court staying busy, that includes this week as the state of Virginia asked the Supreme Court of the United States to block a ruling by a federal judge that is forcing, at the moment, the Commonwealth to reinstate self-acclaimed non-citizens back to the voter rolls. These are people who, when asked by the state of Virginia, are you a citizen? They say, no, I'm not. And then they say, okay, thanks for that. And they take them off the voter rolls because non-citizens are not supposed to be on the voter rolls. And the Biden administration is interfering because they want to decrease your trust in the election. And a federal court said, oh, yeah, we're going to go with the Biden administration. The lefty judge said it. And so now the state of Virginia is appealing to the United States Supreme Court and saying, please get involved and please let, sanity prevail here. Only citizens should vote in our elections. We handled all of this the right way. Tomorrow, we're going to talk to the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Jason Miyares. He'll join us on the program. We will discuss this. Speaking of attorneys, Kamala Harris supposedly is one. And she was on the Shannon Sharpe podcast. Did she record it today? It came out today. It was recorded 4 days ago, but all of the clips are coming out today. And it is absolutely preposterous. For all the normal reasons, she's not very good at this. But Shannon Sharpe raises to Kamala Harris that there are black Americans who don't support her and instead like Trump a lot better. And Kamala, being the lawyer she is, says that Donald Trump wants to get rid of the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. Yes, you heard me correctly. Kamala Harris says that Donald Trump is trying to abridge your Second Amendment rights. Listen to how ridiculous this campaign has become.
Blacks for Trump. Mm-hmm. They feel that Trump is better for the black community. Can you explain Donald Trump's history with blacks? Where did this come that all of a sudden, I mean, it's been like this because a lot of people used to say, I'm Donald Trump of the ghetto because he was, I mean, for a lot of blacks, not all, but for
Did a lot of people used to say that? I'm Donald Trump of the ghetto. Was that a routine thing? I don't know.
some blacks, he was, Madam VP, whether we want to admit it or not, he's revered by some blacks.
But here's the thing. The question for everybody, should he be president of the United States?
Yes.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, thank you very much. That is the question. He should be. Thank you. Thank goodness. All right. Now, actually, here's the rest of her word salad.
That's the question. Should he have the ability to sit behind the seal of the President of the United States when he says he wants to terminate the Constitution of the United States? You know what that would mean? In the Constitution of the United States is your Fourth Amendment right against unreasonable search and seizure, your Fifth Amendment right, your Sixth Amendment right to an attorney.
Well, a lot of rights going to be gone. The First Amendment.
But the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. Yes. Look, I'm in favor of the Second Amendment. I don't believe we should be taking anybody's guns away.
Trump is going to... Trump's going to abridge your Second Amendment rights. He's coming for your guns, says Kamala Harris. What an absurd campaign she is running. Can we even call it a campaign? What is this? Kamala tells us recently, I'm for building walls now. What? You said walls were stupid. You said we're not going to waste any money on a wall. We're not building Trump's stupid wall. Walls don't do anything. Walls don't work. That was what she said before. Now she says walls work. She says no tax on tips. Where did that come from? Where did that great idea come from? No tax on tips. And now she says Donald Trump is coming for the First and Second Amendment. Need I remind you, Elon Musk is now running a petition drive in all of the swing states asking registered voters to sign a petition saying that they support enough to put their signature down the First and Second Amendments. That's the petition that Elon Musk is running with right now. And he's even offering up cash prizes to registered voters who get their friends to sign up for it and offering $1 million prizes with each passing day to people who sign it. He's saying one of the lucky signatories can receive $1 million each day. That's a huge deal. That's a big deal. And it's not for voting. It's not for registering. It's for signing a petition. And they're trying to destroy him over it, which is pretty awesome because for this reason, they're making Elon Musk's petition more well-known with each angry headline. Every time they panic over this, they make people realize Elon's giving $1 million a day away? Headline, CNN, 2 hours ago. Philadelphia DA sues Elon Musk and his super PAC over $1 million sweepstakes. Now, what is somebody who casually pays attention to all of this going to read in that headline? $1 million sweepstakes. For what? $1 million sweepstakes. He's giving money away? Yeah, he is. For doing what? How hard is this? All you have to do is sign a petition. That's it? Yeah. You have to be a registered voter, sign the petition. You could win $1 million. That sounds awesome. So Philadelphia, they're suing him. They're suing him over this. And this is the best. Actually, Elon's kind of hitting the Trump sweet spot, isn't he? Where he says something, the media attacks it, and then more people are aware of it because the media is attacking the original thing or attacking a distortion of the original thing, which is always how this works. This is very Trumpy of Elon. So this is a fun news cycle, isn't it? They really hate that guy. They despise Elon because they thought he was on their side. He's the electric car guy. He's on our team. And then when they were attacking the First Amendment, again, it's the left that's attacking the First Amendment, Elon came out and was like, I'm not for that. In fact, I'm going to buy one of these huge social media companies. That way people can talk to each other. I think that'll be a good thing. And then what do they call him? You're a fascist. You're a Nazi. Pick your ridiculous allegation about Elon Musk. A guy who loves this country so much that he's immigrated here and he's thrived here as an American citizen. He's thrived. He's achieved the American dream. He's done amazing for himself. Nobody's ever done so well in American history as Elon Musk. And the left hates him for it. They hate him for it. And Elon, to his credit, he took a while. Not everybody took a while, but he took a while. But eventually he was like, oh, yeah, Trump's my guy. That was the day that Trump was shot. That was July 13th. Elon Musk finally said publicly, that's it. I'm supporting him. That's it. I'm in. And he hasn't looked back. Now he's jumping around on stages, giggling, pumping his fists, having a great time. Pretty cool to see. And then Kamala's doing the Shannon Sharpe interview. Like, it sounded like this.
So breakfast. What does Madam VP eat for breakfast, or do you have time to, or is it on the go?
No, I when I was younger, I didn't think I needed breakfast. I wasn't a breakfast eater.
Okay.
Now I have breakfast every morning. It's usually a spinach omelet. It's not very exciting.
Right.
But it's protein with a little vegetable. And, I like chicken apple sausage and some toast, and then I'm gone.
I want to offer my condolences for the percentage of our audience who just drove off cliffs. They were good people, and I really appreciated the listenership through the years. Shout out to them and their families through this difficult time. That was her answer. That was the question. What do you eat for breakfast? I can't do a Shannon Sharpe voice. I don't think anybody can. Just Shannon Sharpe. But Kamala Harris, in a very relatable answer. Usually a spinach omelet. I never ate breakfast before. I did it recently. And then she starts cackling. I eat breakfast now. It's like, what? And they wonder why Trump comes across as more relatable. The guy who wears his suit to the McDonald's drive-thru line, throws an apron on, looks genuinely happy meeting people, making French fries, marveling at the fact that people don't touch it with their hands. He's like, I always thought they touched it with their hands. They don't even do that. That guy succeeds. Kamala Harris can't talk about breakfast food without coming across as a phony. She's probably lying about the spinach omelet. I don't know there's not a moment in there that I could say that sounded credible. That's Kamala Harris in the waning time she has left in this presidential election doing the Shannon Sharpe show. Bring back Cat Williams. At least that guy was interesting. Cat Williams, I saw someone point out the comedian Cat Williams did Shannon Sharpe's podcast about a year ago, and he ripped Hollywood. He's savaged all these people, like the P. Diddy types, all of them. He was talking about what a scam it is and how dangerous it is. He was just going off, telling the truth. That's the Shannon Sharpe podcast I want to watch. And I saw somebody point out, they're like, this is amazing. Shannon Sharpe, he went from Cat Williams to Kamala Harris, as if that was some sort of progression up, like that he was headed in an upward trajectory. I'm telling you, Cat Williams is far superior to a Kamala Harris interview. He is going down. That's the direction he took that podcast with that interview. Bring back Cat. Get him to assess Kamala Harris. Can't wait to see that. 5:50 now.
And we stand then in that path, knowing that we also have the honor and the duty of excelling in every way possible, being able to see what is possible and not be burdened by other people's limited ability to see the same.
A little bit of jazz improv there from from Kamala Harris on a line that's not even good. What can be unburdened by what has been. Let's take Jeannie in Purcellville on line one. Hello, Jeannie. You're on the Vince Coglianese show.
Oh, hey, Vince. Thank you so much for taking my call. I love WMAL. I love your show. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to share that I've had a really rough week over the last week, and I'm sure that I am not alone in this, and so I just kind of wanted to put a message out to all the listeners. I have family that is spread across this country, aunts, uncles, cousins from Denver to Washington State, Michigan, and then here in Virginia. And my brother put a group message out and about supporting Kamala, and it just stirred up a whole bunch of stuff with my family. Sure. And now I'm not talking to my brother, and people's feelings were hurt. Of course, I think I feel like this week I have felt very alienated, very judged and criticized by my family.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is happening across the country, and it's sad. And it's really hard. And I want to just say to everybody, like, be strong and stay the course.
Yes.
And, try to pray about it. And I really hope that this doesn't come between families
Me
the
too.
way that they want it to.
But, yeah, Jeannie, thank you for that. I'm sorry we're up against it here. Please call back. We'll talk about this some more. But just remember, just tell them you love them. That's the key. Tell them you love them. There's always an opening. All right, stay with us. The great one, Mark Levin, up next.